All right, folks, here we are for another session of Off the Grid. Hey, my next guest is a dope MC who goes by the name of Spike Yee and is based out of West Virginia. Hey, brother, thank you for joining me today. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for having me, man. How are you?
Oh, I'm all right, man. Yeah, living in Hawaii, no complaints over here, man.
Oh, nice.
Well, hey, dude. So, hey, let's start with your background on where you were born and where exactly you call home and how long you've been making music.
All right. Well, I was born in Morgantown, West Virginia. My family, my parents are immigrants from Hong Kong. So
Okay.
when I was about 6 years old, we moved back to Hong Kong. I lived there for a little bit. Then we ended up moving back to the States so I could start, elementary school here in West
Okay.
Virginia. So the majority of my life has been spent, here in West Virginia. And I've been making music for seriously for about 10 years with just doing hip hop and rapping and stuff. I've been involved with music most of my life, piano, show choir, drums, guitar. I did all that like in high school, middle school, stuff like that. So always been performing, always been on a stage for the majority of my life. So yeah.
Nice, man. Do you still travel back to Hong Kong? Oh, it's a beautiful place to visit.
Yeah, it's great, man. I've been back a few times. Yeah. Last
Okay.
time it's been a while since I've been back recently, but the last time I was there was like 2017, 2018.
Oh, okay. It's been a number of
Yeah.
years. You're due for a
Yeah.
trip out there. Were you guys living in on the Hong Kong side or the Kowloon side?
Well, we have family that live in the new territories now. They were on the Kowloon side for the longest
Okay.
time. But yeah, they've my immediate family, my aunts and uncles. I have a few still back there, and they live
Okay.
in the new territories now. Just because it's a little quieter.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
from the hustle and bustle of like the inner city. So I think they
Yeah.
like it out there. I like it out there. It's super nice. It's peaceful out there.
Yeah. Man, I'd love to go back just in general, man. That's awesome.
Mhm.
And you mentioned too, right, that you've been on stage since you were a young kid. Piano, pretty standard for every Asian kid, right?
Yeah.
But
It was either
do you
piano or
still
violin. So I was like, all right, let me do piano.
do you still play? Is the question.
I do play a little bit. I'm not
Nice.
as good as I once was. I'm super rusty, but I can still, get down on the keys and and bust out a song or two here and there if
Hey,
it calls for it.
that's two more than me, and you have succeeded as an Asian kid, man. That's great, man. So, hey, awesome, man. Well, hey, with that, man. So I'm curious, man. Before we talk about your catalog, what kind of music were your parents bumping back in today? What kind of
Man,
exposure did you have?
they they listen to a lot of, at least I remember my mom listening to a lot of the Beatles, Gees, like Simon
Nice.
and Garfunkel, the Carpenters, what I mean, like real old school classic. I guess
Yeah.
it was pop at the time, you know what I mean? But
Yeah. Sure.
we
Yeah.
we consider it oldies, but that's the music that I grew up on, you know what I mean? So a lot of my honestly it's like some of my earliest influences. So I oftentimes find my melodies, my melodic progressions, kind of
Yeah.
being influenced by that generation of music.
Interesting, because you do it really well in your songs, man. And that
Thank
was
you.
a point that I was gonna bring up. So very nice. And at some point, you get some exposure to rap music, right? And so,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
was your introduction to hip hop or rap music, and who were some of those artists?
I got introduced to hip hop probably around the fifth, sixth grade. So I was probably like, 11 years old or so.
Okay.
10, 11, between the ages of 10 and 12 was my exposure to a lot of like mainstream music and or like, pop music. That wasn't like old stuff, stuff that I was actually interested in. So, I
Nice.
first got onto, Jay-Z was probably the first album that I bought, Volume 3, Life and Times of Sean Carter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 99 probably. And then I followed that up with DMX, and then there was X, Eminem's Slim Shady LP.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Stuff that came out pretty much between like 98 and 2000. That's really when I started getting into hip hop. And that was just like hearing it on the radio, seeing it on MTV. You know what I mean? Some of my friends from school being like, yo, you gotta check this rap album out, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like hearing about like
Yeah.
Tupac and Biggie, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Those were, you know, some of the first rappers that I got exposed to when I was a kid. So that's
Very
where my origins are. That late 90s,
yes.
mid to late
Uh,
90s hip hop. Yeah.
Spectrum. Yeah, it was a good time for music. And if you had to pick out, this is usually a tough question to answer, but if you had to pick out a couple of key albums in terms of who influenced you, in terms of you becoming Spikey the rapper, are there any that stick out that, hey, when I go back, this is kind of one of the reasons I started rapping?
Yeah, I would say that that Jay-Z album, the Volume 3, I mean that being the
Okay.
very first rap album that I ever purchased with my own money. You
Yep.
know, I
Oh,
mean,
nice.
it had some good production on there. You know, one of the first beats on there was a DJ Premier beat. That was track 2 on there called So Ghetto. I mean that it was definitely that it was that beat that primo beat that got me into loving hip hop because
Nice.
whenever I heard the drums come in and you know I mean the chops on the piano chops for the melody, I don't know, something, it just struck a chord in me and it you know it like started like that. It just made sense to me the way that the music moved right between the cadences and the production and everything, the way it came together. That stuck out to me and spoke to me more than I would say anything else ever has in my life
Yeah.
because it changed my life. It changed my perspective on music because I had never
Yeah.
heard anything like it before. So I was like, man, what is? I was, you know, I was like 12 years old. I was like, what is this? This is awesome. So like from that point on, I was just addicted, and I just would spend my time literally as a teenager just like going out and like searching for more hip hop. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
didn't care who it was, what it was. I just thought that if it had 808s on it like this, and if it was, you know what I mean, and if the cadence structure was, you know what I mean, on the 1 and 3, I was just like, if it's anything like this, then I want it. So
Nice.
the Volume 3 was a big album for me. Juvenile's 400 Degrees, that was a huge album for me as well. I mean, that's
Nice.
a classic album. Um,
Yeah.
I would say, you know, Slim Shady LP and Marshall Mathers LP by Eminem got me
Yeah.
onto just like lyrical ability in general, like right, being
Yep.
able to appreciate, you know, I mean, being able to appreciate like just people's way with words, right? Because Eminem, as
Sure.
we know, is, you know, I mean, lyrically is ridiculous, and just the way
Yeah.
he structures his rhymes and his flow has always been intriguing to me. And as he's gotten older, it's become more complex. And as I get older, you know, I mean, it's the appeal has been the same for me ever since I started. Like, I still find it very intriguing, linguistics in general, and just how people
Yeah.
manipulate words to get across a message. So those were definitely some very influential albums for me. Yeah, growing up.
Yeah. Hey, DJ Premier, man, a primo beat will do that to someone, man. That's wild.
Yeah, man. I mean,
So,
I was none the wiser, dude. I was just an ignorant little kid. I didn't know nothing. And then I heard that beat and I was just like, literally just blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, I need more of this, you know?
yeah. And so, two questions from what you just told me was one, was it hard to find hip hop in your town at the time when you were growing up, or was it was hip hop quite big?
It was definitely difficult to find. I mean, in the 90s in West Virginia, you know what I mean? Like, it's not something that was very prevalent. Like, there were people, you know, I mean, that listened to hip hop. There were kids in my school that I could, you know, I mean, share albums with, and I could get
Yep.
new albums from, you know, and we all put each other onto what we were listening to.
Yeah.
But you
Sure.
know, but being a, you know, a first generation, right, Asian American in
Okay.
an area that doesn't really have much at the time, just in terms of
Okay.
culture. You know what I mean? Like as far as like, you know, other outside cultures, right? Like I really had to dig for it. You know, I had to
Yeah.
go to the record stores and spend hours there, you know what I mean, looking through all the CDs, all the records and previewing them, playing them, you know what I mean, going through and just like, I really had to dig for it, you know, it didn't just
Yeah,
like
sure.
pop out and find me. Like I had to go and, you know what I mean, put effort into like finding music.
Yeah. Hey, and who uh do you remember the moment that you picked up the pencil and started writing rhymes or even started typing rhymes? Do you recall like what the catalyst was to
I
get you to start
do.
doing that?
I do remember the first rap that I ever wrote. It was in 6th grade, and it was
Oh
awful.
shit, nice.
It was terrible.
I'm sure it
Um,
was.
you know, everybody starts somewhere, right? But
Yeah,
it was,
exactly.
you know, it was actually, it was hearing an Eminem freestyle that is like the thing that spurred, right, because like in '98 I remember a specific time in '98 I was in 6th grade. MTV was current like on top of the world, and they were doing a campus invasion tour where they have artists, they whatever artists that were on that MTV tour would go around to different colleges, different universities and play, right, because MJ
Sick.
sponsored by MTV and everything. So WVU, West Virginia University, is where is in Morgantown. So MTV came to WVU, and they were
Oh
selling out
shit.
merch and stuff and selling, you know, I mean, compilation CDs for the tour. So my
Yeah.
homie ended up getting his hands on one, and so he gave it to me, and I, you know, popped it in. I listened to it, and there was, you know, there was a couple freestyles on there. One by Inspector Deck from Wu-Tang Clan, and
Nice.
one from Eminem, right? And so I just remember being so intrigued by these freestyles, and I was like, man, this is really cool. What if I could just do it? You know what I mean? Like I didn't really think about it too much. I was like, this is dope. I want to do it. So I like tried it. So you know, I picked up a pen and paper and I started writing it. And then I like brought it to school and like showed one of my friends, you know what I mean? And yeah, that was that pretty much. And then you know, the rest, you know, just went from there.
Yeah, that's dope, man. That was the start. And so now let's talk about one of my favorite questions to ask is how you came up with your MC name. So I see your real name on the screen. So I was like, is Spikey his real name? I'm not sure, man. So let
Yeah.
me know. Is it your real name?
No, yeah, my real name is Josh May.
Yeah. Okay.
My old rap name used to just be J May. Just
Oh,
because
okay.
it was,
Cool.
you know, it was just my name, and that's what people used to call me in high school, and stuff. So I went with that for a while. I did that up until maybe about 8 years ago. I did like the full rebrand in like
Yeah.
2015, I would
Okay.
say. But I got that name just because I am a huge fan of Spike Lee and his movies. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
man.
so my tagline used to be, Spike. I'm Spike Lee. I make lyrical movies, right? Like that was like,
Oh,
you know
I
what I
like
mean?
it.
So, and there
Oh,
was
very cool.
a little bit of play on. There was an episode of the Jamie Foxx show back in the day, where they did a spoof. They did like a spoof on like Spike Lee, and he like came into the hotel that Jamie Foxx's like family owned,
Yeah.
whatever. And the character's name was like Ike Lee or something like that. So they played it off of that, and so I thought that was funny, and I was like, all right, well, let me just like switch it on. I'd be like Spike Yee or something like that, and so that's what I did, and people like, you know, some of my homies liked it, so I just, you know, I took it and ran with it. Plus, I used to wear these glasses that like, you know, like I
Oh,
used
no.
to have these crazy like thick rimmed glasses and stuff like that. And so also like one of my boys was just like, man, what are you Spike Lee or something looking like that? And so I was like, you know, so all those things kind of compiled into me making the decision that this would be my name.
Yo, I love the story behind it, man. So yeah, again, I was like, it could be his real name, but I'm gonna ask him. So hey, the story is great, man. I love the backstory, man. And so the logo, are you a graphic design artist too? Who designed your logo? It's a nice
Um,
Street Fighter video game flip,
It
right?
is. It's an homage to that, you know, to because but
Yeah.
I'm not really a graphic artist. I am an artist in general. I do you know what I mean, mess around with you know, graphics like on Photoshop here and there. I'm not like the best.
Yeah.
It's not my forte. But
Okay.
it was one of my boys from back in the day. My boy
Yeah.
Owen. Shouts to Owen. He made that.
Great.
He
Yeah,
made that
man.
logo for me years ago.
That's
Probably it was probably around 2015, 16 when I did the rebrand. And I've been
yeah.
using
Those
it
it
since
looks
then.
good on a t-shirt, man.
Yeah, I know. As everybody likes that logo, and I'm glad whenever people recognize because it is like it's like a generational thing. You know what I mean? Like I feel like kids these days wouldn't really catch that reference, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean. But you know, everybody our age does, so it's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
You
For
know what I
sure.
mean? That's what I made it for. It's like my whole. That's like my whole vibe, right? My whole brand, I guess, if you want to call it, is like '90s nostalgia, right? Like
Yep.
it's been that forever just because I am a '90s kid. I'm an '80s baby and a '90s kid, right? So like,
Nice.
you know, and there's you know, we as millennials are like we have all the buying power in the market right now. So all the influence in pop culture is coming from us. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So this is just an addition to that, and a bonus whenever people do recognize it. You know what I mean? And attribute it to that because that makes me happy because this is all the stuff that make me happy, right? Like video games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's dope.
No, hey, that's great, man. And again, yeah, I just appreciate the the tribute to Street Fighter. That was really cool, man. And so early you mentioned that you grew up in West Virginia, you got the gear, WVU graduate.
Yeah.
Hey, were there any challenges with you being Asian in terms of your experience in becoming a rapper? Was it difficult or was the community quite embracing?
Um, Actually, it was the community actually was pretty embracing of what I was doing. Just because usually I get the benefit of the doubt, right? Being in Appalachia, because it's funny enough, I actually didn't even go to college here. I went to Ohio University for school,
Oh,
for college,
oh
and
man, okay.
graduated, and then came back. But I always rep West Virginia just because, you know, what I mean, that's
Because it's home.
my home. You know, I gotta rep it.
That's right.
Um,
Okay.
but even when was rapping in Ohio, I, you know, always got a very good response because nobody ever expected it, right? Like I was always the token Asian, you know, still kind of am
Nice.
like in my area, like there's not too many of us. So like everywhere
Yeah.
I go, no matter what I'm doing, and when I get on a stage, nobody knows what to expect. So
Yeah.
I've generally been able to take people by surprise in a good way. And everybody has always been very accepting of me as a person and like my music as well whenever I get on stage and perform.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and that's good to know. Thank you for the record correct, man. So Ohio's got a great hip hop scene too, man. And
Yeah,
so, man, I mean, like legends like Bone and man, just a
yeah.
bunch of other folks out of Ohio, man. So, yeah, hey, that's great, man. But what about the first time you performed at an open mic or just a cipher? Was it intimidating? Do you remember? Or hey, I'm just gonna go for it, man.
I do remember my first time performing hip hop music was at an open mic in Ohio. They used to have this weekly event there called the Hip Hop Shop, and it
Okay.
was like, and it was just, you know, a bunch. It was everything put together. So like they would do, you know, freestyle battles. They would do open mic. They would do like poetry slams. You know what I mean? They would do
So,
like dance battles and stuff. You know what I mean? Like it was just a little like DJs would be there. They'd show up and play. You know what I mean? It was the hip hop shop. Like everything hip hop. You know what I mean? You would go there and
very
you
cool.
know you could immerse yourself in the culture and you know what I mean, be a part of that community. And so the first time I ever did it, it was a hip hop shop open mic. I went in, performed like two songs, got very good reception. Came
Nice.
back, came back like a few weeks later and did participated in my first freestyle battle. You know what I mean? So then everything just, you know, led from there because it was just I would go every week and just do something, you know what I mean, perform. I loved
That's
it. It was definitely nerve-wracking for sure, having to perform something that I wrote, you know what I mean, like original music that I
yeah,
wrote from the heart for the very first time, you know what I mean,
yeah.
not knowing what I'm supposed to do, not knowing anything about it, anything about, you know what I mean, the etiquette of performing and stuff like that, like
Right.
performing hip hop, you know what I mean? Like I know how to perform other stuff, like I've done shows, I've done concerts and recitals and stuff like that. But but that was always, recitals, you're always playing somebody else's music. You know what I'm saying? But this
Yeah.
open mic, you go and you got to perform your own stuff, and that is a little intimidating for sure. But
Sink or swim, absolutely.
but being able to do
Hey,
it and
hey,
get it off my chest is awesome. So
yeah, that's awesome that they hit a platform. And so and then when you mentioned the part about going and doing your freestyle battle for the first time, was this before Jin the MC blew up on his when he was doing the BET Friday
this
do
this
you remember
was
Jin? Or is
man,
this after?
this was a couple years after. It was a couple
Okay,
years
cool.
after. Jin, though, man, seeing him, I remember watching him on BET live,
Yeah.
right? Like I remember watching it live, like every Friday, like seeing him catching his first battle, and then like tuning in every week to see, because that was also one of the things that inspired me to
Yeah.
continue writing, right? Because like I said, I wrote my first rap when I was like 12, but I
Yep.
kind of, just like it was just something casual, something I did for fun. And then when I saw Jin on, on TV battling and winning and doing all that, that kind of upped my confidence a little bit more and gave me
Yeah.
a little bit more relatability, where I was like, okay, I see this guy doing it. So it's like that. It's like if this guy could do it, so can I. And I'm sure he
Yeah.
inspired that sentiment among, many of the Asian
Asian
rappers that we
rappers.
see today. Like,
Ab-
he fathered an entire
Absolutely.
generation of rappers. You know what I mean? Me
100%.
included. Me being one of those,
Yeah.
one of his offspring. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, same, man. So definitely, I definitely was always anticipating each battle by the week. So I just thought, so I was wondering if you did it for him or after him. So it's good to know, man, that he got you there, and that's great, man. Well, hey, what are you listening to nowadays, man? I know, and I love that you've studied hip hop and you do a lot of tribute to the folks from the 90s and the 80s. And so, and then you got also, which I think you're very good at, is flipping between a golden age sound and more of the modern sound. So what's in your earphones these days, man?
These days, man, I'm going back and listening to a lot of 90s hip hop. A lot of the stuff that was just a few years before my time, right? Like I'm going back and rediscovering, older groups, right? And like I'm going back and listening to Tribe. I'm going through
Yep.
all their albums, like Camp Low, right? Like
Nice.
A lot of these East Coast early 90s rappers, because I missed out on that, right? Because when I was growing
Yep.
up, I caught, early, like I would say, like, halfway through, like early quarter of their careers, like Jay-Z, Nas, those
Yeah.
guys. I didn't get to witness Biggie and Pac in real time, right? Like I had to go back and listen to their stuff once I got older. Um, but like I'm listening to a lot of old school East Coast right now.
Very cool.
And then on the flip side, I'm listening to a lot of stuff that's not hip hop, as well. Like Justin Timberlake is like one of my favorite artists.
Nice.
He just dropped a new album like last week, so
Yeah, I saw that.
that's been heavy in my rotation in the car the past couple of days. There's an artist called Dominic Fike. He is super dope, super dope. One of my
Okay.
favorite new artists out. One of the only artists I've actually seen like on tour. I don't really go to a whole lot of shows, like a whole lot of concerts and stuff like that. I do like festivals here and there, but like I don't really like attend concerts because it's just like just because I want to be on stage. You know what I mean? So I don't want to go watch somebody else be on stage. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
But Dominic
Fair
Fike is
enough.
one of the only few artists where I like actually bought a ticket to go see him play, because I just love it. He's super dope, super eclectic, very hip hop influenced, but is
Okay.
injecting a lot of pop and rock into his stuff as well. So he's actually, I think he might be originally like part Hawaiian as well. Like he's got some Asian in him. I know that for sure. Some Filipino, some
Oh
Hawaiian,
wow.
something in there. That's what gives him that flavor. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
I'll have to look it up, man.
yeah, look up Dominic Fike, man. He's super dope. And then there's really though, I honestly don't listen to a whole lot of music anymore. Like
Yeah.
it's one of those things where the
Want
older
to
I
write it?
get, huh?
You want to write it, right?
Yeah, I want to write it. You know what I mean? That's the thing, is the more I find that the older I get, the more I listen to something repetitively, the more I find myself sounding like that subconsciously, right? Like,
Ah, that's good. That's a good point.
so I try not to dilute my own creative thoughts by ingesting too much outside creativity as far in terms of
Yeah.
music, right? Like I love art of all sorts. I watch a lot of movie, like I'm a movie buff. I love, film and TV. So I watch a lot of that, but I don't listen to as much music because
Okay.
of the subconscious influence that it has on me in particular in my creativity.
Ah, very cool, man. Well, hey, with that, hey, I really love how you're from West Virginia and you rep it hard. And I did notice, and we discussed this before we did the interview, that you go up and down between West Virginia and DC to perform.
Mhm.
How's the hip hop community in West Virginia now? Is it pretty big, booming, or do you find yourself having leave and go to places like DC to engage with the hip hop community?
I would say the hip hop community here is like it's prevalent. There is one. It is kind of off and on though as far as activity goes, and like
Okay.
just because Morgantown is a very like it's a very transient place, right? Like we get
Okay.
students who come in every 4 years, and then you got to cycle through new students.
Yeah.
So you're constantly having to find ways to reconnect with the younger audience, find ways to stay relevant, right, in the scene, because it's not just the same people here all the time. Like people are constantly coming and going. It's a rotating door all the time. So
Yeah.
there's a lot to keep up with. You always have to, like be active, like stay active, and you can't
Yeah.
really like go ghost for a year and then come back out and maintain the same relevancy. Like I
Yeah.
have constantly be out here. You know what I mean?
Most
So,
definitely.
but the music scene in general in West Virginia is great, and Morgantown in particular.
Awesome.
Also because it is a college town, so like
Yes.
there's a lot of events going on all the time. Like it's always busy. Throughout the year.
Yeah.
We are in a place where we are very close to a lot of major metropolitan areas. We're an hour
Okay.
from Pittsburgh, 3 hours from DC, a
Yeah.
couple hours from Baltimore, Columbus, Ohio. New York is only 6 hours. So like there's constantly a lot of huge, like large name acts that come through because Morgantown is just a pit stop on a lot of national tours, right? When people are
Yeah.
going from north to south, south to north on the East Coast,
It's a
they'll
stop.
generally hit Pittsburgh, DC. A lot of times they'll stop in Morgantown. We've been able to book a lot of big name artists here in Morgantown because it was just on their way to somewhere else, to another tour stop.
Very
So
nice.
the music scene is actually very very solid here. Like what contrary to what a lot of people would expect. West
Very
Virginia
cool.
being an Appalachian state, not a whole lot, but Morgantown is its own little bubble though. It's very different from the west of West Virginia.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And I love it, man. I just love learning about the different pockets of hip hop. It's all over the world and all over the United States, man. And so that was exciting for me to find, an Asian rapper from West Virginia. And it was just great, man. And so that's why, I'm doing these shows, man, just to expose dope hip hop everywhere around the world, man. And yeah, this is really cool, man. So awesome. That's good to hear. And so let's take it back for a moment. So when I was doing the homework, the oldest album that I could find from you was from 2021, the You Thought album, has 7
yeah.
tracks with Proper. So was that your first official album that you
That
put
was my
out?
first album in almost a decade. When
Okay.
I first my first project I ever dropped was a 18 song
Okay.
album that was all original music, beats all produced by one of my homies from back in the day. That was like dropped on like Dat Piff though, back when during the
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
during the mixtape
Heck
era.
yeah.
So I labeled it as a mixtape, but it was all original music, all original beats. It wasn't any remixes or anything like that. It was literally
Yeah.
just my first project coming out as a rapper, as J May.
Nice.
And it was a 18 track statement, you know what I mean? Being
Yeah.
like, all right, like I'm here, I'm doing this. And then, and then between that first album and then You Thought, I dropped a few collaborative projects with
Okay.
other
Fantastic.
people, with another homie of mine. We had a group, duo, and we did 2 EPs during that time. And then I was still J May then, and then once I got out of that group, and
Ah,
started doing my solo thing again, that's when I did the full rebrand to Spikey. So, but so
gotcha.
that yeah, so the You Thought album, that was my um first like bigger project.
Welcome back album. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
As a
exactly.
rebrand, I guess. But
Yeah.
but yeah, he's super dope, man. And Proper, I'll bring him up because I see him a lot on a lot of the music. Is
Yeah.
that your homeboy back? Is he in West Virginia with you too? You do a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
him.
Yeah, Proper's my boy, man. He's like,
Awesome. Dope,
yeah,
man.
we've been working together for shoot, 6 years, maybe 6, 7 years, like
Okay.
working seriously together. Anyways, like we were homies before. We used to work in nightlife.
Nice.
We used to work in the clubs and stuff
Okay.
together. So we kind of met in working in nightlife. And then we I found out that he makes music, and so we got linked in the studio, started doing that. But he's my main producer,
Yeah.
and my DJ and my like recording engineer as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
fantastic, man.
he does all the behind the scenes stuff.
Man, hey, the magic maker. That's awesome, man. Yeah, so I just noticed that you did a lot of work with him and the music was great. And so, hey, man, if the recipe works, keep cooking, man. And I love the combination between you and Proper. And so what was going through your mind when you put this album together? Were there any thoughts that, hey, I'm gonna resurface and do this first album after 10 years and or is it just, hey, I'm making music and I'm gonna put a project together? Any
Yeah,
special meaning or thought behind it?
so that project came together whenever Proper moved in with me. I had an empty room in my house, and
Nice.
so Proper moved in, and that was the majority of that was the first summer that we lived together as roommates. And there was just we had just got the studio set up and in the house, and so we were just in making music pretty much every day.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
so we just had this compilation of songs. And but during that time we were also working the same like working at the same restaurant too. So it was literally we were working together day and night, like every day in and day out, right, on everything and essentially in life. I mean, from
That's
our
awesome,
nine to
man.
five jobs to 5 to 9 jobs, right? Like, and so the subject content wise, was everything was very cohesive just because it was, one day to the next, to the next, to the next. So the ideas, the thought processes behind all the songs, I mean, the overall themes of like what I was talking about, I mean, all that, was all had a cohesive energy to it because we made it all within, I mean, like, you know, 5, 6 months.
Yeah.
Then we went back and we were like, we probably have a lot of these songs that would sound good together. So like, let's go through and make an actual project out of these. And
Ah,
so that's what we did. And all those songs that are on the album are, were all made probably within a span of 3 months.
very cool.
Yeah. So it just kind of came together naturally, really.
Great, man. Hey, what's the significance of the album name?
So You Thought was just one of those things where it's like that's just kind of the overall theme, man, with me and him, right? Like both being Asians in Appalachia, right? Like
Oh, sick.
because Proper is of Filipino descent,
All
and,
right, man. Heck
yeah,
yeah.
so just both being Asian Americans, right? Like in this area, like, and nobody ever expecting anything from us, right? And as far in terms of like hip hop and music, right? Like I said before, like people don't expect that whenever they see me. So the album title was just like, yeah, you thought, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Oh, man.
Like,
Great.
what I mean? It's not like what we do and who we are is exactly what you didn't think about whenever you
Yeah.
saw us. So so that was just what we came up with for the title. It's like, yo, it's like you thought, but nah.
But no, yeah,
You know
otherwise.
what I
Hey, I
mean?
love it, man. And I just love that, I mentioned this to you earlier already. You flip the different couple styles, and I think you do it really well. And I thought the music, man, could go up against some of the stuff on the radio, man. It's got that great, modern sound. And so just the content, the delivery, just the beats, man, I thought it was really good stuff, man. And my favorite tracks were Mellow Yellow and Tell Me. Tell Me was my favorite track.
Thank you, man. Definitely
Yeah.
appreciate
So man,
that.
just
I like those ones as well. Those are two of them. Those are the two that got performed the most, like in
oh
live
good.
shows. Yeah, off the album. So
Again, Tell Me was my number one favorite track, man. And so I'm a dude that enjoys lyrics. And so, man, here I'm gonna quote some of your lines that I really enjoyed. So where we at now is time to look at the wider perspective because the entire country's a trap house. I'll be a dog in the game of cat and mouse, rather sit on the bench and let y'all figure that one out. In the meantime, I compose a mean rhyme, think of ways to verbally convey a peace sign. Woo, man. I enjoyed it. The delivery was much better than the way that I recited to you. But I was like, man, dude got some wordplay, man, and just
and I appreciate
that's
that, man. Thank you, dude. That verse, that verse meant a lot to me. It was I was feeling a type of way. I don't know whenever I wrote that day. So
yeah.
yeah,
The messaging was super dope, and so that's one thing I always, yeah, man, just lyrics will get me, man, at the start, and yeah, man, I heard it and I was like, yeah, this is hot, man. Let me bring that up.
thank you,
So
man.
yeah, and so did you guys so all the albums that you've done, did you press any copies, or are you, of the mindset that I'm just gonna put it out digitally, and you're not really big on merch. Let's hear your
Um, Yeah, and in the digital age, you know what I mean? It's been, just everything has been released digitally. I used to print CDs, right? Like I
yeah.
used to, I literally used to hand out mixtapes, like, you know what I mean, walking
Okay.
around. Like I go to Times Square and me with my little brother and just walk around and hand out mixtapes that I pressed myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I've been doing that. So we've thought about getting like just like a few vinyls pressed, right? Like of the album or of some of the songs that we've made.
Yeah.
We've like, explored some of the services that do that and stuff like that. So that's definitely an idea that's been on our minds.
Okay.
Is like printing out physical copies of stuff. Just
Yeah.
because I still like to have CDs. Like my car still has a CD player. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like my laptop, I purposely, one of the reasons my computer that I'm working on is so slow right now is because when I got this, I decided to keep the CD player in it instead of taking it out to put more memory in, which
Oh,
which I could
gotcha.
have done. But I was like, nah, I still want the CD player in it. So like
Yeah.
I do like having physical copies of stuff. So that's something that we may do further down the line. Once we
Yeah.
release some more stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you're on the borderline too, right? So 80s, you born in the 80s, and then so that's good. I'm glad you got to experience the handing out the tapes and just marketing yourself, man. It's a different kind of experience, right?
It's
Because
a different game now, man. And I had to
yeah,
like really
yeah,
learn how like I really had to learn how to transition because
that's right.
when I first came out and started doing this, it was all street team stuff. Like I had to go around and like post flyers and like go to
Right.
businesses and ask if I could post flyers in their windows and go walk around with headphones, you know what I mean? Like letting people listen to my music on the street, see if they wanted to buy my tape. Just
Yeah.
like all that stuff. Like I had to do all that in person. And now you
Yeah.
don't have to do any of that in person. So
Right, and I'm not saying that what we did back in the day was harder than what folks are doing now, because even the social media marketing game it's quite difficult too, man. You
yeah,
gotta push a lot of content out, and
yeah,
just the attention span isn't as long as it was back then in terms of
exactly.
seeing new content, and so yeah, no, it's just good that you know what it was like back then, and then I know you're doing your stuff now in more the more modern ways, but no, really dope. And yeah, I just thought it was really interesting, man. And I was curious to see whether or not you wanted to do physical product. I still do it kind of just to hold on to that old feeling, but no, man,
Yeah.
I do recognize that the new way of doing it is quite difficult too, man. So with that, man, hey, you got a bunch of singles on your digital streaming platform accounts. First one I listened to was The Come Up from June 2023. Again, delivery was nice on the single, and I love all the strings of singles that you have, man. Just as mentioned, man, just there's a lot of music out there, and some of the singles I really enjoyed were "Moving in Sequence," "Book in My Mind," "Next Lifetime." Just a lot, man. So folks getting introduced to Spike Lee for the first time, you gotta go through his catalog, man. He's got a lot of dope singles, and so is that kind of just the you know in terms of like getting stuff out? Is that kind of the route you chose, doing it, just releasing singles and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that's
feeding
where we're.
people content?
Yeah, that's where we're at right now. You know, what I mean, just
Yeah,
in this day and age with the way everything is and the way the internet works,
yeah,
it's better to just, in my opinion, at least, it's better to just have the content and release it slowly than to just
yeah,
drop it all at once. Like you were saying, with the attention, people's attention spans are shot these days. They don't have
yeah.
the patience to listen to a 10-track album, much less, I mean, a 5-minute song. People will give you maybe
Right.
2 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Maybe 2.5 minutes if you're lucky.
Yep.
If they really are fans, they'll give you like 2.5 minutes to 3 minutes. But even a 3 minute
Right.
song is like considered like pushing it these days, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah.
Because like when we
It's
grew
like,
up, man, we had like, you'd have like 5-6 minute songs on albums and stuff like that. You know what I mean? With like an
yeah,
interlude, a prelude, and like sometimes like a skit in between them and then the middle of the song. You know what I mean? Like we listened to long songs back in the day. Like rap songs were like used to be like 3 verses. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And
I
now,
know.
they're not anymore. You know what I mean? I put 2 verses on every song.
Yeah,
With 2 verses, 2 hooks. You know what I mean? Plus the intro and outro. That's like 2:45 to 3 minutes already, and that's already
yeah,
pushing it for these kids. So
yeah,
like, so I try to keep my the length of it, I mean, easily digestible, because I know the landscape of the way the audience is these days. And
no,
I've
that's
done
a good
start,
point.
and that's we made the conscious decision to just start putting out singles instead of putting out projects. And then if you want to turn
Yeah,
those singles into a project, you can do that, because that's what we did
yeah.
for a couple of our, with me and Proper dropped like 2 3-track EPs,
No
right? Like
hooks
over the past
too.
couple of years. They were called No Hooks. And yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. But those were songs that we made and we released them as singles. And then we were like, these would sound good together. So we compiled them together and re-released that as a cohesive project.
I
And
love
so,
it,
but then,
man.
and then that's just more content, right? So you have more to post, right? So that's the thing. And for coming from somebody who's a little bit old school, like I'm not constantly thinking of like content ideas. Like I post the same type of videos like every week. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Just with different stuff. But like I'm not like I don't and not that I don't want to. I really could, if I had the time, I would love to get creative with the content and put it out. But like, I ain't really got all that time to be
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
of new ideas for new videos and stuff all the time. So like, so the more I can just sit on stuff and release it over time, the less I have to constantly like burn myself out with like thinking up new ideas every single week. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, that is a great point, and I'm learning every day. And so, man, this is good, man. Just learning by talking to you, man. And so, yeah, it's a great point, man. Like, you only have in terms of like, marketing window for an album, however long, right? But you're right,
Yeah.
man. If you break that album up into singles, you extend that life, right? And so,
Yeah.
no,
You
that's
could,
great, man. Great.
one you drop one album and you promote it for maybe like a month before
That's
people get
right.
tired, before people start getting tired of it. You split
If
that up
even,
into 10 songs, you could drop a song every month and have content for that song every single month. So
oh, for
like,
sure.
so it just makes more sense that way in terms of like volume, right? You want
Yeah.
volume, but you don't, if you want volume but you don't want to decrease the quality, that's I think that's the route to go, because like that's
Oh,
the
that's
thing is,
interesting.
you
Yeah,
know,
it's a way to do it. Yeah, you're right. And then I like it too. And then you also have the option to repackage it into 2, 3 songs EPs, right?
exactly.
Which you did for No Hooks too. And
Hmm.
I gotta shout you out because I love the Rufio cover art, man. That
Yo,
was
I
the
told you,
shit.
man. I told you, Doug. That's my brand, dude. That's my whole thing. It's like just paying homage to all the
Yeah,
things that inspired me when I was a child, right? And
yeah,
Rufio, shouts to Dante Basco,
yeah,
you know what I'm
yeah.
saying, for being like one of the
Filipino cat.
OGs, right? One of the OGs to represent for Asian Americans growing up, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So like I had to pay a little tribute to that.
No, the play on it was great, right? He was the movie Hook, No Hooks.
Exactly, that
Yeah.
too. You know what I mean? No
It
hooks,
was
dog.
brilliant. And I was like, okay, are these 3 songs? Do they not have hooks on them? And
Yep.
I
And they
went,
don't. There's all just, they're literally just 3 songs that are like 32 bars each, and that's it.
I love it, man. Hey, man, that was brilliant, man. And dude, a ounce of pride was a freaking amazing song. Holy
Thank you, man.
cow,
Thank you.
man! I
I was
love that
definitely
track.
definitely feeling some type of way whenever I wrote that. I think I don't remember what I was doing, but like it was just one of those moments where I had a lot on my mind. So
Yeah. Hey man, really great, man. So again, man, check out all the singles, man. Really dope, man. Yeah, you won't be disappointed. And so now I want to move on and just talk about your IG videos, man. So the way that I found out about you was the freestyle that you did over the 93 Till Infinity beat, right?
my favorite, one of my favorite beats of all time.
Woo, of all time, man. Yeah, West
Yeah,
Coast beat, super hot, but I think you killed it. And,
thank
and
you.
then I found out I was like, whoa, he does it for a bunch of classic songs, man. And
Yeah,
you got quite a catalog of where you do that, and I think that's also great social media content. But the songs that you pick, man, they're from early '90s. They're from a period, the golden age of hip hop, man. And so sounds like this is your tribute to all those who came before you.
it is. It's every song that I do. You know, what I mean, is a song that I was, that played a part in, my growing up, right? Like in with music and stuff like that. Everything that all the songs that I've remixed or that I've done, these freestyles on is just
Yeah,
stuff that I listened to when I was a kid or stuff that I just enjoy listening to now, right?
yeah,
So it's all and it's repurposing these older songs for a new generation who may not have heard of these songs before,
right.
right? You know what I'm saying? Not like the 93 to Infinity, right? Like there's a lot of kids who listen to rap music who have never heard that song or
That's right.
anything and from that era for that matter. So me just bringing it back and just making it a little bit more, modernizing it a little bit, right? Like adding my stuff to it, but still maintaining the original essence of the song. Like I try not to change it too much. Like whenever I do these remixes, I'll do the hooks the same way that they were done. Like I try not to mess with them too much because you know because I love the original so much. So
That's right.
why would I want to change it at all? I want to keep it close as to the original as possible with
Yeah.
just adding my little flavor on it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I love it, man. And I was like, at first, I was like, okay, well, let me pick out a couple that, I'm gonna let them know that I really enjoyed, right? And so I did. I was like, oh, Real Slim Shady, and then Hits from the Bong, Cypress Hill, the remix, and then ATLiens, Everlast. And then I find out you have like 30 of them packaged into two different albums, man, on your
Yeah.
Bandcamp site. I was
Yep.
like, God damn. I said, this is great, man. Good content. And what I like is that you don't do them on all rap songs too, man. You do it on
Yeah. Nah, just
some good song. Like I think you did the Land Steal My Sunshine, right? Was that? Did you do it
Yep,
on that?
that was my newest one, you know what I mean? It's like I said, it's
Yeah.
just all stuff that I liked as a kid, you know what I mean? And it doesn't
Great.
have to be it started off as hip hop, right? It started
Yeah.
off like the first like 10 to 20 TBTs I did were like all hip hop. But then I was like, man, I loved so much more music growing up,
Yeah.
right? So it's like why not start branching out and just rapping on whatever it is that I really enjoyed listening to when I was a
Yeah,
kid.
no, hey, I think that's great. And hey, man, full disclosure, I bought the Lens CD because of that "Steal My Sunshine" song. I thought it was great. But then
Yeah.
when I saw you post it, I was like, ooh, that's a kind of risky beat, man. Let me see if we can pull it
It
off.
was it
And,
was
and
it
you
was
killed it.
definitely risky because it's honestly that one was a little bit more difficult for me than like
Yeah,
any of the other ones because it's not really like a hip hop beat. It's not really a
right.
beat. Like it's just it's also slow. So you
Yep.
know what I mean? Like I really had to like find ways to like get on it, and you know what I mean, while still trying to maintain like a hip hop vibe to it. But
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was tough. The Len Steal My Sunshine was one of the tougher ones that I've had to do, to be
Okay.
honest. And I wasn't. And I'll be honest, like full disclosure from my side, I wasn't even really that proud of that one. Like I made it, I wrote it, and I was like, I was like, it's all right, but like it's not one of my favorite ones. But like obviously I still did it, so I still had to put it out. But
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Hey, well done, well done, well done, man.
thank you, man.
I love the confidence, and again, I was like, kind of risky, but he
Yeah,
pulls it off. Well done, man. Hey, and
thank you,
so
man.
also the ATLiens, that was one of my favorite ones where you were rapping on stage. Spike Y, double E is what they call me, yellow skin, slanted eyes, but I'm not a commie. That's
Yeah.
good. That's great, man.
Thank you,
Really,
man.
really
I like to
awesome.
mess around a little bit here and there.
I love it, man. Hey, man, I enjoyed those series of videos, man. And then you also do those other segments, the Spiky says segments, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I like it, man. What's
Little
the
fortune
purpose behind
cookies.
Spiky says segments?
What's that?
What's the purpose between for those spiky segments? Says,
Well,
yeah.
you know, I always really enjoy phrasing. Like I enjoy the English language. I enjoy putting words together. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so the Spike says it's really just like, you know, little fortune cookie sayings that I just think
Yeah.
about in the back of my head all the time, right? Like I'm always trying to find ways to um, reconfigure the way something can be said. So like a lot of the Spike says usually are inspired by like random things that I see throughout the day, right?
Yeah.
Something that might grind my gears a little bit, and I'll be like, oh, I feel some type of way about this. Like, I want to like, you know, air my grievances about it, but like I'm
Yeah.
not gonna. But I don't want to take to social media to do it because I feel like that's just like a waste. Like I don't get on Twitter and vent anymore. I used to do a lot of like Twitter and Facebook venting, and then I realized that like, and those were the things that always got the most interaction. And I was like, why? I was like, this gets more me airing my grievances about X, Y, and Z gets three
Yeah.
times more likes than me posting an original song that I spent hours on.
It's
And I'm like,
crazy.
okay, so let me just take these ideas and, you know, sum them up into like easily digestible, just like 1 to 2 sentence phrases. And then I just turned that into content. So instead of just typing
Yeah.
out all my grievances on Facebook, I take those ideas or whatever spawned those ideas, and then I try to make a an unbiased, take on whatever, said subject. So
Yeah.
that's where the TBTs come from. It's just like random things that I see that like may piss me off, and I'm like, oh man, I feel like I should say something about that. So
Yeah.
like the most recent one where I was like, Spikey says, if you don't discipline your kids, the
The
streets will.
streets will,
You know
man.
what I mean? And it was because I like saw some badass kid at the grocery store. There's something like, and it was like running around throwing stuff on the ground, and I was just like, man, I was like, when I was a kid, like, there's no way in hell my parents would have let me do this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, where I was like thinking to myself, I was like, where are your parents? Like, just running around. And I was like, so that's what spawned that particular spike he says.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know what? I'm not gonna like bitch about it on social media. I'll just like make a little saying about it, and then that'll be that.
Yeah. Hey, and I like that's clever, man. And I like how you say it, but you don't explain why you say it, and then you leave
Yeah.
it for thought. And I think that was
Yeah.
great.
That's
Yes.
what I want to do is I want to spark thought, discussion, conversation with, you know what I mean? And it's like I treat them, yeah, they're just like little fortune cookies. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? You crack one open, there might not be any context behind it, but you get what you get. And that's
Yeah.
it. And then it's up to you to think about it. It's up to you to interpret it.
Oh,
You know what I
I
mean?
like it, man, because you said I saw that one. I was like, yeah, the streets will for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's facts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Streets disciplined me a lot of times when I was a kid.
That's right.
So
You got to learn the hard way. And so you
yeah.
did another one. If you keep pushing the envelope, watch out for paper cuts. I was like, fuck yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, just I interpreted it in my own way, right? But
Exactly. You know what I mean?
yeah,
A lot of times they may not have any particular in like motivation or intention behind it. It's just these
yeah.
are random things that will pop into my head, and I'm like, okay, well, cool. Like I think I can make this sound good. And so I just do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I love it, man. Keep doing your thing, man. I was like, fuck yeah, he's right. Yeah, it's good. No, it's good, man. So I enjoyed that. And then you also do some clothing segments too, right? Where you showcase some of the clothing that you're wearing too. And just I really think that you have a great social media game, and I appreciate it. I wanted to give you some props for that.
Thank you, man. Definitely appreciate that. It's something that I've really had to learn how to put effort into. I was never really the biggest social media person. I've quite honestly, like I try to stay a pretty private person.
Okay.
But obviously, given the way everything is now, you have to be active online. So, I'm doing what I can out here.
Hey, all good. Keep doing your thing, man. I love it. Hey, you got upcoming show. You got the Taste of DMB Festival coming up in June.
Mhm.
Little set that you got going on, and so also I also saw that you performed at a silent disco. What was that experience like?
Oh, silent discos are fun, man. I've done a couple of them in my day.
Okay.
Actually, I'm doing another one on 420.
Okay.
So that's the next one, and it's going to be, they're super fun, man. They're
Yeah.
you know, everybody gets to choose, you get to choose what you want to listen to, right? So it's like
Yeah.
the silent discos, you'll have two or three, you'll have multiple acts going on at the same time. And
Yeah.
then, those the earphones are all like, Bluetooth earphones that have different channels on them.
That's right.
So people are playing, the acts are playing simultaneously. And when you have the earphones on, you can choose which act you want. You just, hit the switch and change the channel, and you can listen to whoever you want that's playing at the moment. So a lot of times we did these because a lot of times with the late night silent, we do them like during the late night. It's because of sound ordinances or whatever, right? You can't make a lot of noise.
Okay.
So this is another way for us to throw shows, if we're outside or doing whatever, and still be able to throw shows and go late into the night, 3, 4, 5 a.m. if need be.
Yeah. Great.
Because because if you ain't got the earphones, you really can't hear it. So
yeah,
they're super fun experience. I enjoy performing at them because it's much more personal for me, because people are hearing me in their ears.
They can
right?
hear you.
You're not hearing me on the speakers. You can hear every single word I say, because I'm speaking directly into your ears whenever you have those on. So that's one of the things I really enjoy about it, is that there ain't no missing my lyrics whenever I'm doing a silent disco. You're gonna hear all of it.
Hey, you can test the crowd too. You can be like, hey, put your hands up in the air and figure out who's listening to you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can see it depending on like how good the earphones are. Like the ones that we've been using. There's a guy here that his company owns a bunch of them, so we always run from the same guy. His actually have lights on them, so whenever you change channels, you can see each channel has a different color. So it's like red, blue, and green. So it's like so if you look out, you can see like who's got blue on, who's got green on,
who your audience is.
Yeah, so really it's like immediately you can tell, it's like immediate market research. Be like, okay, like I can look out into the crowd and see who's actually paying attention to me.
I love it, man. Hey, no, that's great, man. Really cool, man. I was just curious. I had never been to a silent disco, so I was just curious how that experience was. Sounds like a blast, man.
Yeah, they're super fun.
Very cool, man. Well, hey, man, with work and just life in general, family and music, man, what continues to motivate you to do music? How do you find your inspiration?
Man, music is just such an integral part of my life. I feel like it would be impossible for me to not have it around in my life, regardless of just music and art in general. Like no matter what I'm doing, I'm always finding ways to be creative. Even if it's outside of the music, like, whether it's drawing, painting, or just anything that I do, I enjoy having the flexibility and the freedom to be creative in whatever it is that I do. So, but the music in particular, man, I'm just a writer by trade. I was a journalism major in college.
All right.
So, like I literally like got a degree in writing, and it's just what I do. I'm a way better writer than I am a interpersonal communicator.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I've learned how to talk, but it's never been my thing. Like I enjoy having discussions, right? I can be very, very eloquent when having discussions about topics that I'm interested in, like like we're doing right now. But I'm not really the best like social talker. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like I would rather take my time to think about what I want to say and write it out and deliver a speech than to talk to somebody face to face just off the rip.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like I'm a preparation kind of guy, not an improv guy. You know what I mean?
So am I.
Yeah. So that's the way. So it's like I will always have to write something, regardless of when I'm going through life. Like that's something that I have to do because it's like therapy for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I love what you're doing, man, and I love your vibe, man. Like, you can tell sometimes what a person's personality is like by the things that they post or the way that they carry themselves. And I totally enjoy what I see online. And I saw in another interview that you pride yourself in being just a very resilient guy and a man of blind faith. And so, man, just man, really great vibes, and just I just love your what you project, man. So super dope.
I appreciate that, man, for sure, dude. It's
Yeah.
it's this road out here, this path is one that is less traveled. So it is always
Yeah,
very nice
indeed.
to just to hear that and to get
Yeah.
just like to hear it, right? And to get like that kind of validation from people who I've never met before.
Yeah.
It always means a lot to me that, people are even taking the time to like check out any of my stuff.
Absolutely, man. Well, hey, well, with that, yeah, we're gonna jump into the fun segment, man. These are the questions that, we're gonna close out on a fun note, man. All
All
right.
right.
So with that, I'm gonna start. What is something cool about you that not too many people know?
Man, something cool about me. I don't know, man. I think doing music is pretty cool. That's probably the
Yeah.
coolest thing I've done. That's probably the coolest thing I've done in my life, to be honest, man. I'm
Save
a
our
pretty
lives,
boring person otherwise.
man. All right. Okay. Hey, ethnically Chinese, grew up in Hong Kong, so you probably grew up eating some great Chinese food. But as you grew up, you were exposed to other different Asian cuisine from Thailand, Philippines, and so on. Is there another Asian country's cuisine that tops Chinese food?
uh that tops it, I don't know, but I will say that there are a few that are just, of the same caliber, I do think, I mean,
Okay.
for me,
So very diplomatic response.
it's like I love Vietnamese food. I love I love Korean food, what I mean? Japanese food I love as well. I've started to get introduced to a lot of Filipino food because of Proper.
That's
One,
right. I was gonna be upset if you didn't say Filipino food because of proper, man.
yeah, what I mean? He puts me on a lot of stuff.
Nice.
He makes a crazy chicken adobo. So it's fire.
Nice.
We live off that for like weeks at a time whenever he makes it. So you know what I mean? Yeah, man, I love all. Really though, I do love all Asian food, and I do love the nuances between the different cultures, right? And
Yeah,
flavor
sure.
profiles and stuff like that, right? Because a lot of us, we use the same ingredients, but just in a
Yeah,
different
just
way, and the
different
flavor
way. Yep, that's
profiles come
right.
out way different for all of them. And that's what I love about Asian food in general is that there's so many different types, and they're all so good.
Yeah, yeah, that wasn't fair to put you on the spot, but I thought it'd be a fun question to ask you, man. All right, man. Hey, Spikey's favorite food of all time. If he had to choose what he was eating every day, what is it?
Oh man, probably just like a good bowl of ramen, man. A good bowl of
Nice.
noodles and just noodles in general, man. That's my thing, dude. I've just always been a sucker for a hot steaming bowl of noodles, man. Of
Okay.
any
Hey,
type,
fair enough.
whether it's ramen, it's pho,
Uh-huh.
it's I mean, one time actually, you know what? I will say traditional Cantonese style wonton noodle soup. That's probably my favorite comfort food. That's probably something that would eat every day. If it was my last meal, that's probably what I would do with a little bit of chili oil and drizzled in. You know what I mean? Just simple
Hey,
and it's great.
hey, great answer, man. All right, earlier you mentioned that you were a movie buff. What is your favorite movie of all time?
That's a tough question, man. It's different because I got different favorite ones for different genres.
Okay, let's do comedy because I'm a comedy guy.
Okay,
Favorite comedy.
comedy. I would write. Okay, off the top of my head right now, like How Baked. Like I would say, because I'm a big sucker for stoner comedies. So I would say like Half Baked or How High is probably like up there for me in terms of like just pure
Nice.
like like jovial comedy, right?
Yeah.
But if we're talking like action comedy, that's like Rush Hour for sure. Um,
Oh, classic.
you know what I mean? Rush Hour and Rush Hour 2 for sure are like two of my favorite action comedies of all time.
Yeah, yeah. I even enjoyed three. I need a Rush Hour 4, man. So
Yeah, they're supposed to be making one, so got my hopes up.
I saw. Okay. All right. Hey, tell me, is professional wrestling real?
No, it's just like the NFL. It's all rigged. It's scripted. I do
All
have a
right. Hey,
respect though for professional wrestling. I have
so
a very because it takes you got to be a hell of an athlete to be able to do some of the things that those guys do. You know what I mean? So I do respect that a lot. You know what I mean? Because
nice.
I wouldn't be able to do it. So
Yeah, right. Yeah, me either. All right, man. Hey, your logo is like you said, a tribute to Street Fighter. Would you say that your knowledge of Street Fighter is pretty good?
It's pretty solid. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's as much as any '90s kid would be.
Okay. All right. Before I wrote this question, I didn't realize that there were that many characters. But hey, who you picking between Chun Li or Cammy? Who's hotter?
Mm. See, the West Virginia in me wants to say Cammy, but the Asian in me is going to say Chun Li. You know what I mean? I got to ride for my sis. You know what I'm saying? Chun Li's the OG. You can't disrespect her.
All right. That's great. Great answer. All right. Hey, if we're choosing sides, Miyagi-Do karate or Cobra Kai?
Miyagi-Do.
Okay. All right. All right.
They got, you
All
know,
right.
as cool as Cobra Kai is, man, I gotta stick with the, I gotta stick with the morals and values of Miyagi. You know what I mean? It's just the
All
Asian
right.
in me.
You're a good man. All right. Hey, we're closing out with a film question. If they did a movie about Spikey, tell me which actor would you pick to play you?
Channing Tatum.
I love it, man. All right. And your leading female would be?
My leading female. Oh man, there's a lot of good ones out there right now. I don't know. Maybe like Anna Kendrick or like Anne Hathaway or something.
All
You know.
right. I like it, man. All right. I'm waiting for that movie, man. All right. Hey, with that, thank you so much, man. Are there any special projects that you want to tell us about before we close this amazing interview out?
Yeah, actually, I am going to be releasing a new single soon with Proper and another West Virginia artist. It's a little bit of it's a collaboration project. It's got the artist that I'm working with on it. He's like a folk pop country like rockabilly type artist. Like he plays
Sweet.
guitar really well. Is a singer. It's called Mountain Made. So
Oh, I
it's a
like it.
tribute to where I come from, the Appalachian Mountains. This whole area of Appalachia. That's the subject content of the song. Thus the title Mountain Made. You know what I mean? So that will
Yeah.
be out in the next month or so. I'm actually currently working on the artwork right now. That's what I was working on this morning and yesterday. So getting everything
Very
together,
cool.
getting ready to put that out soon. That will be, my single for the spring. And that'll be the first single that I'm dropping this year, actually. So yeah.
Okay.
So I'm
Very
really
cool.
excited to put that one out.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I look forward to checking that out. And with that, what is the best place for folks to find your music? Where do you want them to go? Digital streaming platforms, or do you prefer your Bandcamp? Where you want
Um,
them to go?
Yeah, I would say that, the easiest place to find me would be on Spotify or Apple Music, just under Spike
Okay.
Lee. If they do feel so inclined, they can go to Bandcamp and find my two, TBT with Spike Lee mixtapes, 30 tracks on each
Yep.
one. I couldn't release those on streaming platforms because of copyright issues and stuff.
Yeah.
So but I'm on, all my videos are on Instagram and YouTube as well. So
Yep.
Google would probably be the easiest place to find me. Just search Spike Lee
Yeah.
in Google and, everything comes up.
Yeah. Hey, well, with that, thank you again. It's been an honor to do this interview. And again, I enjoy all the content you're doing. Your music is amazing.
Thank
And
you, brother.
I look forward to continue cheering you on, man. So, repping hard for the Asian folks in hip hop culture. I love it. So, with that, man, anybody you want to shout out before we end this thing?
Definitely just want to shout out my homie Proper. You know what I mean? We do so much work together. He's my guy for life. You know what I mean? So shout out to my man Proper. Shout out to all the other homies here in Morgantown, West Virginia that are putting on for the scene. We got a collective here that we work with of artists and promoters and stuff like that, and performers, DJs. So that's just what we're doing, and we're just trying to, keep the scene going here, and shouts to West Virginia, man.
I love it, brother. Well, hey, thank you again. I look forward to releasing this. Enjoy the rest of your day, my man.
All right, thank you, brother. Appreciate you.